Hey, what's up? It's Laser Lemon, and today we're learning about reference images in BrickLink Studio. I'm about to do a live stream where I work on the bow section of my Lego Edmund Fitzgerald, but the problem is I'm starting from scratch, and staring at an empty stage makes it really hard to get going. So, we're going to learn about reference images and how they can jumpstart your design work in Studio. Let's do it. Now, before we jump into BrickLink Studio, our first stop is Photoshop. Now I'm going to introduce you to the images we'll be working with. This is a digital scan of a historical document that I purchased from the Detroit Historical Society. And I'll zoom in, you can see it's actually really high resolution. It's just a wealth of detail for really every aspect of the Edmund Fitzgerald. This has been really helpful, and now I haven't tried to get this image into BrickLink Studio before, and we'll see how this goes. The first thing I want to do is make sure that it is straight. So I'm just using like a rectangular selection tool and lining it up to the bottom of the ship. And on the left side, maybe you can see this, it's lined up with the bottom, and on the right side it's not. So I'm going to, if I can remember where it is, I'm going to use, under the crop tool, there's this button where you can straighten, and you just click and drag to a line that should be straight, and it will straighten the whole image based on that. Let me try that again. So I'm just selecting the bottom of the ship, and ever so slightly it adjusted the angle of this document. So now I committed that change, and if I use the rectangular selection now, we can see that it's all straight. So this is good. We don't want to be working with crooked images in BrickLink Studio. So my next job is to figure out the scale of this image. One of the problems with using reference images in BrickLink Studio is there doesn't seem to be a predictable way to size your image ahead of time so that when you get it into Studio, it's at the correct scale for the work you're doing. So what I'll try to do instead is to add a reference to our image that's easily understandable from within BrickLink Studio. And that reference would be a Lego. So let's add a big brick here. Are there 2x16 bricks? I want one with some height too. 2x12? What's the longest brick they make? 2x8 will work. Okay. So I got this positioned right in the middle of the stage. Actually, I'll put it right in the middle in case it makes a difference. And let's make it a color. All right, now I'm going to look at this. I'm going to make sure I'm in isometric view. That means we don't have the effects of perspective where the part of the brick that's farther away is smaller. Isometric makes it so everything is perfect angles. So when we look at it from the side, everything will line up perfectly. So let's see if I can do that. I don't exactly want that or that. I probably want this view of it. Zoom to fit. Ooh, that's a lot. Okay, now let's render this. All right, I don't really care about the quality so much. That's just going to make it take longer to render. So I want to make sure that it all fits on the image. So that looks good. I don't need the logos on each stud. Transparent background. So this all looks good. I'm going to add this to the render queue. And then I'm going to get a top-down view as well. Basically, the plan is I'm going to have multiple reference images, and on each reference image, so maybe a front reference image so I can see the profile of the ship and build to match that profile, and maybe a top-down view and maybe a front view. And for all of those different views, I'll have a different orientation of this Lego. And then once I bring the reference images into BrickLink Studio, I can align the Lego of this image with a real Lego so I know that the scale of the reference image is correct. So let's add this to the queue as well. And then I need one from the edge as well. And we'll add that to the queue. So now I have a queue with these 3 images and we will render it. I'll be right back. Okay, 10 minutes later, 3 images rendered. And I renamed those and put them on my desktop, and now we should be able to find those and open those in Photoshop and start putting them in our reference images. So let's try that. We'll open our 3 images. Beautiful. Those will work well. Okay, so we have a great side image right here, and we have a great top-down image. This is a great cross-section of the midship. But we already know the shape of the midship. And then this, it looks like let's zoom in on this. It looks like the right side of this is the bow and the left side is the stern. And they just saved space because it's symmetrical. So this is kind of interesting. We could get a little more intense about this because it looks like they kind of break this down into what the profile looks like at different distances from the bow of the ship. I wonder where okay, and here's where they define those distances: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And so this is what the curve of the bow looks like at distance A from the bow. That's really cool, and we could get that in depth. The odds that we can actually model to that granularity in Lego, I don't know. I mean, I'd be over the moon if we could do it. So let's start simple, and let's start with the side profile and the top-down view, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to just copy this whole image. Actually, what I'll do is so I'm no Photoshop expert. I'm just I know enough to get myself in trouble. So I've just duplicated this layer onto an identical layer just above. The reason I wanted to do that is so I could kind of mess up the image by removing everything except the reference I want. And I'll do that twice for the side and the top. So I'm just going to select what I was trying to get a clean reference image where we didn't pull a bunch of stuff in that we didn't want, but I'm afraid we're just going to pull some stuff in that we don't want, and we'll just have to ignore it. Okay, so I'm going to select the inverse of this and delete everything that's not the ship. It doesn't look like anything happened because I still have this other layer right below it. So here is one reference image. I'm gonna make a new image that's the size of the clipboard, and I'll paste that in because we don't want the image to be too big. So here's one of our images. Now we need our Lego. So let's grab the Lego that we want. And that would be the side Lego. And we need to figure out what size to make it. So first thing I'm going to do is just get rid of all the transparent pixels. So now it looks like maybe we have like one extra barely translucent pixel on each side. So I'm just gonna take these down. Okay, so now we have this Lego. Now what size should it be to put it on this reference image? Let's figure it out. So we know that the ship is 729 feet length overall. So let's measure it. We have a ruler tool somewhere under the eyedropper tool. And so I can just start the ruler tool at the furthest back point on the ship and take it to the front of the hull. That little flagpole sticking out of the front is called a jackstaff. And I had to do a little research, but the jackstaff does not count towards a ship's length overall. Okay, so you can tell that this line is at an angle, but that doesn't really matter because we're not going to take the length of the line. It measures width and height. So our width is 13,739. Let's take some notes here. 13,739 pixels equals 729 feet. So if we do some math, 13,739 divided by 729, that means 18.85 pixels per foot. Right, and now we're doing a 1 to 200 scale model. Okay, so my brain is melting. So what's the math now? So feet are the problem. Okay, so if we're using meters, we have the same pixel count, but the whole ship is 222 meters. 13,739 divided by 222 is 61.89 pixels per meter. And now we want the scale to be 1 to 200. So first let's scale this up. So 6189. Actually, let's get a little more precise about this. 6189.7 pixels per millimeter. Nope, centimeter. Let's do millimeters. It'll translate to Lego better. No, that is not right. Okay, so instead of doing this, I'm gonna think about the final ideal length of the ship. So instead of being 222 meters, I'm not gonna build a ship that big. I need it to divide that by 200. So 222 divided by 200 is 1.11 times 100 is 111 centimeters. So this 13,739 pixels still represents the full length of the ship, which is now 111 centimeters. Now, we have a Lego brick. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 studs. Each stud is 8 millimeters. So this Lego brick should be 64 millimeters. And so if this brick is 64 millimeters and there are, let's say this, so we're talking 12.38 pixels per millimeter. Multiply that times 64 for how long the Lego brick is. So now we're talking 792 millimeters. Nope, pixels for the Lego. That was easy. So let's resize this Lego image to 792 pixels wide. And then let's dump it on to this reference image. I don't think it really matters where it goes, but maybe I'll align it with the bottom of the ship. Okay. Beautiful, right? Super easy. And now let's export that as an image. Ref side. So this is our reference image. Let's jump back. I would do the other one, but I'm burnt out. Actually, we can do the other one because it will be, we've already done the hard part. So let's look at the Lego top. We're gonna trim this. And then we're going to resize it. 792, right? 792. Then we'll go back to our original image. And we'll just plop it on here. I'll try to align it with the center line. I don't know if that will be helpful in the end, but maybe. Okay. Now I'll shrink this, well, I'll crop this down. Okay. And image crop. And we'll call this ref top. Okay. Now back in BrickLink Studio. Let's keep this Lego here because we're going to need it. And let's, how do you add a reference image after all? Model add reference image. And we're going to go find our images. So let's start with the side. Okay. So here's our reference image, and you can see our Lego, and it is too small. So let's get a perfect side view here, and we're going to scale this thing up until it fits the scale we're looking for. All right, we're getting close here. Wow, that was harder than I expected. Now I believe we can lock this in place, and you can see this image just kind of exists in our stage now. And we can use this, especially when we're on the side view, to build up our ship so that it matches this profile. We can try to match this curve, try to match this subtle lift, and these edge profiles. I'm realizing now that I really should have planned to kind of put the Lego in the same place. For the next one, I had it sitting at the bow. So to do this correctly, I'd have to kind of position this, move this Lego up to the front. And I guess I could do that, but it would have been nicer if I could just leave this in place and position my second reference image around it without moving it. But that would have been too easy. So now that this is locked in place, let's move the Lego where it should be. First, it was just to the left of the center line. And so I want to see where that is. So that's -20 on this axis, just to make sure I'm going to move it and make sure I'm thinking about the right dimension. Sometimes it can trick you. And so now I want to move this one up and forward. So that's down, strangely. Okay, I'm moving it up, and I also want to move it forward. Apparently I can just grab one of those arrows to move it, and that's helpful, and it won't move in the other dimension. So about there, and I don't think it really matters up and down actually, because this will be the top-down view. Now you can also change this image to be an overlay, so it will show up kind of translucently over anything you put in its way. And so I'm going to slide this back, just nudge it back to the very tip of the bow. And now we're going to switch to the top view. Weird. So yeah, you can't see our image at all anymore, but it's still there. Just off to the side. So now I'm going to switch back to the exact top view, and I'm going to add another reference image. Model, add reference image, and ref top. Now it added it up and down. So first thing I want to do is rotate it. There we go, that's what we want. I'll do this as an overlay. And now we're going to scale this. Okay, that one was a lot easier. I'm going to lock that one in place too. So now, I'll move my Lego. We have these two reference images that should be scaled and aligned So if I'm trying to build the profile, I can look at it from this angle and build my Lego, try to match this curve, try to match this angle. And then if I'm trying to design the shape of the deck, I can look at it from the top and build away trying to match these curves. And then marrying all of that together, we really need a front view as well so we can see the profile of the front of the ship. But from there we should be able to get moving. That was tougher than expected. I'm planning on doing a live stream soon to work on the bow of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and I'm glad I did not save this step for the live stream. Hopefully this sets the stage and I can start the stream by just starting to build and trying to match these curves and profiles. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the live stream, and I'll see you then.